Everybody. Glad you could spend a few minutes with us today. I'm Ryan Dengate from C3 Technology Advisors, and I've got Matt Cilento from Xcitium. And we're going to talk today about two topics important to cybersecurity. But first, who is Xcitium? Xcitium is a comprehensive cybersecurity company that provides advanced threat protection solutions for businesses of all sizes. They have offerings around endpoint protection, managed detection response, and zero trust security architecture, in addition to what we're going to talk about today. So what are we going to talk about today? CNAPP, or Cloud Native Application Security Protection, and remote monitoring and management. But let's start with CNAPP. Again, CNAPP stands for Cloud Native Application Protection, and it really helps automate the identification, remediation of misconfigurations and other security risks across cloud environments, including infrastructure as a service, platform, and software as a service. It provides visibility into cloud security, strengthens compliance, and improves risk management. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Matt Cilento for a demonstration of CNAPP.
Actually, notice I'm logged into my unified console here, and we are talking about CNAPP. And we're going to start here in our security tab. We're going to focus on our cloud security zero trust. This is our CNAPP integrated into our unified console. As I navigate into this particular area, you'll notice we have a number of different dashboards, but today we're going to focus on CSPM, which is Cloud Security Posture Management. It's a component of CNAPP, and it provides great visibility on a regular basis across your private, your public, your hybrid clouds. Now, I do have a number of different dashboards here, and you can see in this dashboard, I do have some of the material that's rendering, but I think you're going to find the interesting dashboard is right here with the Cloud Asset Summary. So with only a read-only key into your cloud environment, the system will do a scan. It'll do it daily, so this information is updated on a regular basis. And as soon as that initial scan is completed, all of these compliance controls will actually populate. Now you can see we have 33 compliance frameworks that are built into the platform here, and they really run the gamut. If I pause here briefly on ISO 27001, you'll notice that there are 41 controls that comprise this compliance framework. And in my demo environment, I am only 82% compliant. Now, if I go ahead and select this particular framework, it'll actually show me all 41 controls. And specifically for each control, how well, or rather, how poorly I am doing on each. Now, this is 0%, and all 6 have failed, and you can see that this is the event logging category. Now, if I go ahead and select the 6 that failed here, it brings me right to the detailed view, and it will list everything that's failed for this particular control. Now, it'll tell me what failed, but it'll just give me that message in the top. That's fine. It'll provide you with a specific recommended action. Okay, so it's going to vary depending on what it is and where it is. Now, in this case, if you're not sure exactly how to take care of this, we provide a direct link for you to take care of this. But the best part, I think, is the compliance column here. Because when I go ahead and fix this top row, you see that plus 16 right there. I'm going to go ahead and select that. It'll automatically address this and fix this across all of these other compliance controls. So very quickly, I can bring my organization up to a level of compliance that is comfortable with. Now, every day, this new scan will render new results, right? So you could have more issues tomorrow or less issues tomorrow because the cloud is dynamic. But this gives you your ability to understand the security framework and status across all.
Matt?
Yes, go ahead.
See, Matt, I think that's really interesting that you bring up that sort of visibility and essentially crosswalking multiple compliance frameworks over all this. It's a conversation that I've heard multiple times through our clients, and it's really exciting to see a platform like this be able to integrate all this data and use it rather than having to recreate it or duplicate it. Is there anything else about how this solution is handled in multi-cloud environments that might be interesting for our clients to understand?
Yeah, so for organizations that are transitioning from one cloud footprint to another, or actually have, for various reasons, footprints in multiple clouds, whether it's their own private cloud or across multiple, that's your hybrid, that's fine. You can actually, with those keys, read-only keys, right? So we provide this great visibility across all of them, and all of them will map into all of the frameworks. So very instantly, each framework, and if you wish, make all of the adjustments necessary to bring all of your cloud footprints that have your corporate assets out there up to 100% if you wish, and then you can feel much better about that. Your compliance officers will actually want to know this, track this, etc. One dashboard across all of your cloud assets. Great visibility. Because traditionally, if you have cloud assets, often I hear just the very notion that it's in the cloud, don't worry about it, it's safe. But with this particular component, our CNAPP here, this gives you absolute clarity. Now, yes, I did say that those scans run every single day, but you can also invoke them at a moment's notice if you really want to know right now how it is and how it might have changed from any of the changes that you made overnight or this morning.
Great, thank you for that. And that ability to even ad hoc on the fly be able to do a scan and understand where you're at, I think could be really powerful for many clients.
Agreed. So this actually does get a lot of traction, and a lot of people are very much interested in this because they have no other way with a unified, consolidated console to have such visibility across all of the frameworks. So there's nothing to build out here. It's all ready to go. And with just a couple of keystrokes, you can onboard your cloud footprint and have this type of data. Very easy to onboard. Thank you. Now, there's a lot of components up here. We talked about CSPM, but our CNAPP, Cloud Native Application Protection, includes other layers of the cloud. Some organizations actually build out their own cloud native applications, so they have source code repositories. Well, this platform can actually tie into your source code repository and actually make suggestions to your code before it is compiled. Now, all of these issues, all of these findings will actually accumulate over here because this is the aggregate of all findings from everything from the source code to the runtime, to compliance, to the network, to the operating system. The entire stack will be analyzed in your cloud footprint. So yes, we're talking about the CSPM here, Cloud Security Posture Management. But if you're building your own applications, now you have your source code. But after it's compiled, you have runtime protection. You might have different issues after it's compiled. And this area, the CWPP, Cloud Workload Protection area, will give you this. In fact, if I look at the app behavior, the application behavior, this will actually give you a little graphic. So here's a sample in my environment, and you can see all the communications and ports. And maybe this looks good under normal circumstances, but I see a port 80 over here, and maybe since that is unencrypted and clear, maybe that's not part of my design criteria, and simply selecting that will actually identify all of those devices that are communicating. So now I have a visual runtime who's communicating with my environment out there, and I can tighten it up. Because also in the runtime area, we have this section called policies. Now the system here will build out the policies for you, and in fact it already has. If I look at the hardening policies that it's built out for me, I can see all of them in aggregate, and it breaks it out by different types, and all of the policies are inactive by default. But if I go and look at one, and I'll just pick on this one here that says File Integrity Monitoring, it'll actually tell me what it found and what it built. And this is perfectly good and fine. But I can also edit it to make it fit my specific criteria. And when I'm ready, and this is exactly what I want, I can now, right from here, activate this policy. And this is the real-time enforcement and mitigation. So this is the zero trust part of the cloud. So not only do you know how your cloud resources are from a compliance framework perspective, you can now harden and lock down your cloud environment to authorized communications between, among, to, and from.
Matt, you've shown us a lot of different capabilities. And one of the questions that's in my mind right now with regards to findings and some of this trending information across these different pieces of the platform is, what can we do with all of this? And maybe how can we integrate it with our existing ticketing and ITSM platforms?
That is a great question, actually. And to answer that, I will show it to you. It's right here in the same UI. So I'm going to leave the security tab over here. I'm going to run right over to the settings area. And in the settings area, we have cloud security settings. And this will actually answer that question and maybe a bunch more. So I have a number of cloud accounts configured in my environment. And just to onboard, we were talking initially about just those read-only keys. Here's a simple example if I have an AWS instance out there. I can certainly just give it the label that I'm looking for, press next, and the only thing I need to do here is enter in these two values that I created in my cloud account for the read-only access, and simply identify the region or regions that I am residing in, and all I have to do is press connect. And then those compliance dashboards will light up, the findings dashboard will start to light up, etc. So I can onboard really easy. If you have clusters, no problem. You can onboard them right here. And then the integrations tab is what you were asking about. Now you'll notice there's a secondary row here. So for the cloud workload protection, you can stream events. So if you've locked down your cloud environment and there are infractions, right, alerts, you can feed them into any number of the systems that you see here. And if you have a notification stack, right, we've got a couple listed here that you can send off alerts to immediately. For the cloud security posture management, that's right here. Here you can just tie into your favorite ticketing system. So now you've got all this integration to the systems that you already have in place. An alert comes in to let you know that something happened somewhere along the stack here. And then I did mention early on source code, if you have those. And this is where you can tie this in. So you can absolutely identify the source code, right? The repository, put in your specific path, and then you can actually integrate that here. So all in one spot. Now, just the last thing I'll do on the integration piece, if I may, is the ticket template. When a ticket is generated, what's in the ticket? Well, you get to decide, actually. You can see in my environment, I've got a bunch of different ticket types up here, but if I just go ahead and select one, just to give you an idea, you can see that this is very much templatized, and we have parameters. So literally, you can put in as little or as much detail in the ticket as you see fit, so that you don't, when you get your ticket, you know everything and you don't have to go cross-reference somewhere else. So you can customize these for your specific environment to put in all of your detail as you see fit right into the systems you already have in place.
Thank you for that overview of CNAPP and Cloud Security Posture Management. I'm sure that's going to generate many, many questions for our clients. So let's move on to Remote Monitoring and Management, or RMM. For those of you that may not understand or know what RMM is, it's essentially a software that allows IT professionals to remotely monitor and manage IT systems and devices, whether it's remote support when somebody has maybe a software or an application issue, or to deploy patches and other sorts of maintenance. It also helps provide real-time insights, automates routine tasks, and enables that remote troubleshooting. So Matt, if you wouldn't mind, let's understand a bit more of the remote monitoring and management capabilities inside the Xcitium platform.
That's great. Let's jump right to that. It's in the very same console. You'll notice we have an ITSM area, and this is where all of that resides. So I'm actually going to navigate over here and start right here on the device management. But you'll also notice we have these things called profile management, which is the configuration capabilities, which allows you to customize this to fit your environment. Remote monitoring and management, we're going to cover all these. This is pretty powerful, but let's start on device management. Now, when this list renders, you can actually see all of the devices that are enrolled in my environment here. And this is all real-time data, so you'll notice if a device is offline or online. You'll actually notice the actual machine name. Now you'll notice the profile column here. We've got this RMM bubble and XCS. That's our Xcitium Client Services right here at the XCS. And we're talking here about our remote monitoring and management. That's the first bubble. And then, of course, any additional Xcitium components that are enrolled per device is spelled out in this column, including, you'll notice the patch status column. So if there are patches that are optional, you'll notice they show up in orange. If there's critical patches that are available, they'll show up in red. So you've got this visual, and you also know who's logged in, last activity, all at a glance. Now, if your organization has different departments, buildings, locations, etc., you can actually group your hardware accordingly, much like I've done here. Now, if I go ahead and select a machine, you'll notice this whole top row just illuminated. This here is all of that integrated remote management that we're going to be looking at now. And the first one here is remote control. Actually, you may be familiar with it already, simply because I have been using it all along to show you the platform here. Take a look at the upper left-hand corner of my window way up there, and you will see this machine name and remote control listed in the title bar. So I am already remoted into the very machine I'm showing you here. The remote tools allow you to more passively interact with this device without necessarily taking it over or disturbing the user. So you can browse the file system, stop and start processes and services. Now, if you need to run things on the command line or PowerShell, you can do all of that right from here, regardless of where the device resides. If you need to roll out additional packages, you can do that. There's Xcitium packages you could roll out, of course. And then if you have custom MSIs, you can do that as well here. And naturally, we have all the power options available since we've got the integrated remote management. Now, I did skip this item here, run procedure. This is an extensible feature that's built into our platform, that remote management and monitoring. A procedure is the ability to either collect information or to perform actions, or both. You decide. Now, there's over 1,300 already built out. We augment them on a regular basis. You can create your own, you can change them. It's very flexible and extensible, but let's just say for a moment that this is Ryan's machine. He calls and says his browser is jammed and he can't do anything. All right, let me click Run Procedure. Now I'm going to leave it as the logged in user since he just called. And then up here at the top, I'll just type in the word browser to shorten my list. Let's just do this. I'm going to use that one right there. And that says delete the system temp, the internet temp, and the browser cache files. So all I have to do is press run. And then boom, his browser is reset and he's back in business. And I never needed to get on his machine.
So Matt, you kind of blew my mind right there for a minute, because if you remember from some of my background as working in the managed services business where we used a tool like this, what I just saw was maybe a catalog of different functions that work across. Like, I don't have to know exactly Google or Edge and kind of create this. This already comes with the platform. Am I seeing that right?
You are seeing that right. In fact, all of those items, all of these procedures are all built in. And I'm going to open this item, remote monitoring and management, in a separate tab here so I can keep my spot right there. And they're all listed in the UI under right here, procedures. So the procedures, you can browse them, right? You can look through them if you want, but also it's important to note this is full transparency. We also publish them all online over here at scripts.xcitium.com. And here you can actually see that they're all categorized into different categories. What do you want to do? Right? So they're already all here, and actually, I'll open one up. Doesn't really matter what it is, but any one of these, if I just open one up, you'll notice that you can download it, which means you can import it into your console. And then if you scroll down, I'll tell you how to run it, either as the logged in user or the system user. And then here's your full transparency. We actually show you everything that we're doing in here. So we've got everything, full transparency. You can browse them, you can update them and adjust them, create your own, etc. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Now, if you actually click on the machine name right here, what it does is it drops you to a much more detailed view of the device. So here's my device. Actually, that's Ryan's device. So here's the hardware footprint. Here's the OS, the build, the version, when it was booted, right? This is just the summary tab. And you'll notice that this middle column here just illuminated, the desktop thumbnail. This is a feature like every other feature that we have. You can turn on or off per device, per group of devices, or for the entire organization. And actually, this is the screen that we're looking at. Now, the Networks tab is self-explanatory. I have one network interface, and this is my running config, but if you have more, they'll all be listed out here. The Software Inventory tab will actually show you everything installed on this device. What it is, the version, when it was installed, all listed out here. And in fact, if you find something out there that shouldn't be there, you can, if you so wish, uninstall it right from here without having to get on that machine. Now, I won't do all of these other items here, but I will pause briefly on patch management for a moment, because this will actually break it out between operating system and third party. So these are the OS patches for this device and the status of each. And of course, in the third party tab, you can actually see I've got a number of applications that are due for updates. I know exactly what version I'm running, and which one's ready to go. And if I'm actually okay with that, then I could update that device right from here. So we have lots of detail, lots of capabilities, and then all of these dials and controls that I've been referring to are actually built into these things called profiles. Now this machine, Ryan's machine, is using this profile right here. I'm going to click on it so you can see what's in there, because this is where you get to customize this environment to meet your preferences. So for example, this profile is applied to a whole bunch of devices, but specifically all of these here. And then each of the items in this horizontal row are those controls that I have defined and enforced across all of those devices. I'll show you just a couple so you get the idea. Here's remote control, which we are using. In my environment, just going in without asking permission at all. But sometimes that's not acceptable. So we give you two other options. You can ask the user, wait some amount of time, and then be allowed in if they do not respond. Or you can ask the user, wait some amount of time, and be denied access if they do not respond. And if you wish, you can actually change the text here and give the user a custom pop-up. Now, if you're trying to help someone, we have these client notification options that you can set. You may not want to allow the endpoint to terminate your connection if you're trying to help them. But whichever you prefer just to use, make your choices and simply press save. And it would automatically update all the devices using this profile. So you can have a profile for the executives, one for contractors, remote employees, or one for everybody. It's entirely up to you how you can slice and dice that. Now, a moment ago, I actually ran a procedure to clear the browser cache on Ryan's machine. But you'll notice here I have a procedure in a profile. If I put a procedure into a profile, it'll run on all of these devices on a schedule that I can set. So from an administrative perspective, I can automate a lot of administrative tasks. But sometimes, though, a monitor may be a little more elegant. Why? Well, because a monitor would look for a condition to be met prior to performing an action. I'll show you a very simple example here. It says system drive utilization. That's fine. I'll just call this one up. Here it comes. Great, I gave it a name. And you can have any number of conditions defined that you wish. But if they are met, go do this. Now, this is the same procedure I used a moment ago to clear the browser cache on Ryan's machine. But under what conditions would I want this to trigger automatically? and that's the Conditions tab. Now, we do have lots of conditions to choose from. Behind every one of these is another menu that allow you to put in the specifics. So if I look at performance, you can do something if the CPU is running full tilt for longer than window of time, or if the memory is filling up, the disk is filling up, the network utilization is too high or too low, or whatever. Let's just, for example, look at the one I have configured here that says free space left on the system drive less than 10%. Okay, so this will automatically detect any device in my environment who is less than 10% free on that boot drive or system drive, and will automatically issue that procedure to delete the system temp, the internet temp, and the browser cache files, likely alleviating this condition altogether. So what I've actually done here is detection and remediation without any human intervention, completely automated. Very powerful capability here.
Yeah, really powerful, Matt. And I would imagine, since we've been looking at my endpoint here, my workstation, that this can also be extended out to servers and other systems that may be hosting critical workloads for organizations as a way to provide more value and do those administrative and management functions automatically. Is that the case?
Yeah, so the remote management capability allows you to connect directly to Linux, Mac, Windows, and Windows Server, of course. From our perspective, an endpoint is an endpoint, whether it's a server, workstation, laptop, etc. So yes, the remote capabilities are there. Every operating system has its own features and capabilities, and so naturally the features and capabilities.
Thanks, Matt, for showing us cloud native application protection, as well as cloud security posture management and some cloud work, some more acronyms for us to understand, but really important because I can see really how it does help organizations make sense of all these complexities in a multi-cloud environment, as well as remote monitoring management, one of those foundational components to any IT organization, especially those with limited IT resources. And I'm still really blown away by how much is in that platform. We only touched a couple pieces of it. And that one piece that I know is really unique to you guys, Xcitium has patented technology around endpoint protection and more or less prevention beyond just that detection and response. And we want to dig into that a little bit more when we've got some more time, don't we?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's save that for our next time when we get together and let our clients understand what we talked about today and look for more in the future. Thanks for spending some time with us, Matt. I really appreciate the part.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.